There, your lighting is much better.
That's good.
It'll be fine.
Nope. I need a shorter chair or a taller box. I'm on mute, so it should be good. No, I do not. I think we're ready to go here.
Green screen function.
I'm trying, but it's checked. Fade level. Beach. It'll work. Otherwise, it'll be green. Whatever. That's what it was last week. No big deal. I already did that. Whatever. Doesn't matter. We'll just get rolling. Okay. It'll work or it won't. Not too big deal. Okay, so we should be live. Can you confirm on your phone that it's showing? Actually, I'll just look at it right now. Go to, oh yeah, a cup of water would be great. And I wish I could see if this would.
Do you have your computer so that it will not alarm and make a bunch of noises?
Yeah, there won't be any notifications.
When your phone rings, is your computer going to ring?
Okay, where are we? So I'd like to show this 360 Labs thing.
You're live right now.
Well, all right, cool.
I'm going to
So away.
Good morning.
Is it loud?
So you guys look.
It should go this way.
Okay, so. All right, let's rock and roll here. See myself on the screen. There we go. All right. Let's see here. Let's get this party started. So I'm Jeremiah Bishop, and we're here for 360 Labs. Back again this week for another episode. of the Tri Talk, and we're going to have some great hosts on today. We've got Scott Defilippis, Carrie Lester, experienced pro triathletes, and also coaches with KISS Coaching. We're just waiting for them to call us back in. And we also have Felipe Acevedo, who is our resident triathlete with Canyon HQ. Super excited to have Felipe on board as well. So we're going to get him in on the call. So I'm just going to type a little message to these guys here. Try me back. Okay, so it's really interesting. I read a great article on sort of the birthplace of triathlon in SoCal, San Diego specifically. And it was really interesting just to see. Here we go. Okay. Let's see if we can get our man on board here. All right. Felipe, do you hear me?
Yes, I do.
All
Can
right.
you hear me?
How are you doing this morning?
Fantastic, buddy. How are you?
Doing great. You know,
Congratulations on your wedding anniversary, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it's been a wild ride, wild year. And yeah, really excited to learn some new things. You know, this is kind of funny because we were talking about triathlon, I think last time, and I didn't realize, you know, that like some of the other folks in the office, they're like bow down to you for your triathlon expertise, and I hear you really fast too, which is super cool. So
I
how long
wouldn't
have you
go
been
that
doing?
far. No.
How long have you been doing triathlon?
Geez, I'd say going on 12 years now.
12 years, nice.
Yeah. Not too shabby. I definitely caught the bug and just fell in love, like instantly. And it was one of those things that from the outside looking in was like this unachievable task. Like, you know, even if it's something that's unfathomable. Once you get in there and, you know, going back to what Tyler and Adam were saying last week, it holds so much truth in, you know, just consistency and baby steps, and you got to crawl before you can run. And I'm really curious to hear a little bit from Scotty and Carrie too, and their background and how they got into it and what, you know, got them to this point of their career right now. But I definitely caught the bug. It just stuck. It's no longer a hobby, it's a lifestyle.
On this episode, and that's the lifestyle, and that is the
There it is.
life that is triathlon. Hey, what's up, guys?
Hey, dude.
Good morning.
So excited to have you on today. This is like really cool. So tell us a little bit more. What does lifestyle of triathlon mean to you? And on the screen here, that would help. There, so that they'll see you too. So tell us a little more about what triathlon means to you and what the whole vibe and culture and lifestyle is. Because I think that's a neat thing that's intrinsic to SoCal, intrinsic to the birthplace of triathlon. What do you think?
Want me to go or you go?
You go first.
Okay. Well, the SoCal thing's interesting. That's why we're here. That's why we moved here. This is the birthplace of triathlon, San Diego. It's got some amazing weather, obviously. Some great roads to ride. Personally, I think California's, if not the safest, it's one of the safest, if not the number one, like the safest state in the United States to ride a bike. It's definitely in the top 3. But yeah, the overall lifestyle, staying fit, staying active, that's just a way of life in San Diego, right? I think that's why professional sports struggle here, because they can't get people to sit still in the stands for more than 30 minutes because they're either out swimming, biking, running, surfing, mountain biking, rock climbing, whatever.
Anything outside.
Yeah, this
Totally.
is the fittest city in America.
That's super cool. Felipe, when I visited Canyon HQ in Carlsbad, one of the things that really struck me was like people running up and down the Pacific Coast, you know, just like all ages, all groups, you know, a lot of TT bikes, a lot of just active, healthy, really fit people. Do you think that's why triathlon, really is it's such a triathlon hotbed there, or what do you think?
No, you're absolutely right. It's contagious here. And as Scotty said, it's the birthplace. So you can't go anywhere without seeing somebody doing something.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's simply contagious.
Right.
You want to do something. And then granted, the weather is pretty darn awesome here 24/7.
Yeah.
So there really is no excuse. Maybe it might be too hot to go for a bike midday, but then jump in the water. There's really no, like I said, there's just no excuse.
Well, I think the warm weather definitely has to help. I can attest to the fact that my motivation to swim is directly correlated to water temperature.
Ours too.
Yeah. So, Carrie, you originally
SoCal.
from Australia, and what did you see about SoCal? Why did you want to move there?
Yeah, I think so. I actually grew up in Brisbane, in Australia, which is about an hour. It's on the east coast, and it's about an hour in the middle of either the north or south coast beaches. So I spent a lot of time, at the beach growing up, and when I was actually before I moved over here, I was living in Mooloolaba, which is where they just had the 70. It's very much like here, it's very active. People get up really early in the morning, and similar kind of lifestyle, on the coast there. And it's almost, if you're not up and exercising by 6 a.m.
Yeah, see, because it's a protected cove. So that's our place. I like to go open water around the whole cove, but the Diego is way. It's
Central
kind of city.
Yeah.
Even though San
like, so COVID hit, and we couldn't.
In regards to triathlon and some of the experience with sports, but when it comes to you have to figure out in triathlon, and it's something that you can train in the pool, but then you jump in.
Yeah, really translate open water. It is, you need to have the open water. And I take it further, get in there with some buddies, because it becomes a full contact in the at a triathlon. So you can personal, just little laps here and there.
Yep.
So it will disrupt your rhythm. DIY portion, you have that to worry about.
Yeah.
Yes, just anticipate that.
Okay.
But the biggest obstacle in water swimming is just the mind games. Yeah. Like you said, you can't see anything, so you're just going to start imagining things.
Like sharks.
Which can really kind of like mess with you. Yeah, totally.
Well, for me, I don't have important guests.
Earplugs.
Your training is swim, bike, run. Because I think there's a misconception out there that everybody does all three in equal proportions, or vice versa.
Well, obviously, and right. Yeah. But we, 4 days a week. I think 8 days a week. Riding takes the most amount of time.
Well, I think to your triathlon is important. If your whole day is going to be the athlete, a priority. The year off, we normally 2 months trying to touch the water times, getting people as possible in the ocean. When the season for fit cardiovascularly, but they're comfortable.
Yep.
Here it's just as much so
yellow.
Yeah.
I mean, as a dynamic duo of triathlon, I'm sure you don't always agree.
But it's more, we've been methods
Yeah.
and times that we're both coaches as well, so for that,
Yeah.
so, I'll try and change it, or like I can be, we, I'm a steady state. I don't like that real pain, that all out stuff. So when I get those really short, hard bike sessions, like I am cursing.
Well, I think it's very different doing intensity in the different sports. It's like a complete palette, kind of like my backdrop here. I had to kill the beach backdrop because as much as I'd like to be in Hawaii this weekend, like everyone else would, sometimes it doesn't work out. But yeah, to your point, like I did an interval today, like running on foot. That's completely new to me. And it was wildly different than trying to do it on the bike interval. And I think it's it's kind of like different spectrums of the rainbow as far as like how the sensations are. And I think that's very, very interesting. But it is the first time that I've been able to really glide on the run and not feel like I was normally to run. It's like a incredible amount of effort. But today I had gears, like I had like just a nice flotation, and then I could like pick it up and go hard. So it's awesome, really neat to have these different sport elements. And what do you think? As far as why you try, that was one of our questions. And I'll start with Felipe. He was on first. Why do you try, Felipe? What do you love about it?
I started my athletic career skateboarding and playing soccer. And soccer being a team sport, not everybody can necessarily be at the same level, which can possibly lead to some frustration, some headbutting here and there.
Yeah.
And as I continue to play soccer, through high school and even into college, those frustrations where somebody might not be contributing to their full potential always just really got under my skin. And I was kind of forced into retirement from soccer because of some shady ankles and some other issues, and which kind of went to skateboarding as well. You really can't be a successful skateboarder and soccer player simultaneously. You kind of need your ankles. So that retirement from soccer and skateboarding kind of led me to pursue other passions. And I had just moved to San Diego. Triathlon was always in the background. I was one of those that caught the bug early on when I saw it on TV, like, in my teens on one of those NBC broadcasts. And I'm like, hold up, those people just did what? They swam what? They ran what? Like, they're crazy.
Yeah, super.
And it always just kind of like stuck that it was there. It was something cool to do. And once I made it out here, and like I said, I was inspired by the people outside and just caught the bug and embraced it. And what really kept me just really connected to the sport was that I didn't have to really rely on anybody else. Like it was just me against me, and to see how I can push myself and those mental barriers that you create, whether it is the scariness of the open water swim, which was, I'll admit, that terrified the hell out of me. I've swum in La Jolla Cove, and you forgot to mention seaweed will scare the shit out of me. Pardon my language, but like little things like that you have to overcome. And I'm very proud that I've overcome it and that I continue the sport and I love it, and I get to maybe potentially inspire others and coach others as well. Like it's a really beautiful sport that will teach you a lot about yourself. And that's, I think, what really keeps me in it.
Love it. I think that's what DIY Try is all about. It's more just about getting people back out there. A lot of folks have been, kind of in this stalled out mode where they're doing a lot of indoor training, or they're, getting back into riding. Some people have coped with COVID by doing excessive amounts of one sport, their sort of favorite sport. But a lot of triathletes, I think, have gravitated away from pulling it all together and doing a swim, bike, run, and just sort of seeing where they are, feeling that feeling, and just getting stoked on it again. And that's, I think we might even have a couple new triathletes out of this whole thing, believe it or not. So,
I would hope so.
yeah, Scott, what do you think? Why do you
Well,
try?
it's funny because I'd forgotten this about my past. I don't know how, but growing up in New Jersey, I'm a little bit older than you, Felipe. So, Wide World of Sports was when the Ironman was on TV on ABC, and they must have shown it in the springtime, because I did a DIY in my backyard at like 8 years old. And we had this little, above ground pool that was, I don't know, 4 feet deep. And I remember I had a phobia of water and didn't like to be at the beach or in the sand. And I put my swimmies on, around my arms, and got a couple of my buddies together, and we did a triathlon in the backyard. We swam back and forth, and then I got on my BMX bike, and I had a route around the whole neighborhood, and then I ran the same route after that, and that was the very first time I sort of did a triathlon, and then I didn't get back into it really until after college.
That is sick. That's a great story. And then you got back into it after college, and it became obviously much more important for you.
Growing up a long distance runner, I was always been interested, a fan of endurance sports. Watching the Tour de France every summer, and then the Olympics. You'd watch the track and field and the swimming, but I could never swim, right? Yeah. And then I became a lifeguard at 15, 16. Figured out how to swim. Became a lifeguard at the beach in New Jersey, and then one of the other lifeguards, Brian Shea, who ended up being my first triathlon coach, sort of took me under his wing and brought me to the pool, and we got into some formal swim training, which I didn't have any of. And it stuck with me now for 15, 20 years.
Definitely seems like a way of life. Like, football, people get into it, get out of it. It's a very short like career window. And triathlon, you see a lot more longevity. So what about you, Carrie? Why do you try? What's your real impetus?
Yeah, you pretty much just said it. I think, I've gone, my whole life I've been active. I grew up running as a sprinter, and then moved into triathlon, in my kind of mid-20s, and I've, stuck with it since then. But, I love being outside. I don't like, indoor trainer rides much. I don't like swimming inside. And I certainly don't like running on the treadmill. So I'm a very outdoorsy person.
Yeah.
And I see triathlon in my life, going well into, I see, people, older people like in their 60s turning up, to swim at the pool, and I say to Scotty, that's going to be us. Yeah. Because I know that in our later years, maybe obviously we're not going to be able to run as much, because it hurts. It hurts now, and we're 40. So at 60, I'm sure it's going to be, extremely painful. But it's a sport that, you're going to be able to do your whole life. Yeah. In some way. Maybe you can't run as much, but you can swim and you can ride. So it's just that sport that we're going to have in our life as part of our life forever. And I want to try and encourage and inspire others, to do the same.
Fantastic.
It's lifestyle.
Yeah. It's
I think
really
there's
a lot of early mornings involved. I love it.
I don't do early mornings.
Surprised to hear that.
Most people do early mornings. We're spoiled.
Yeah. Maybe as we get older, we do early mornings, but not now.
Then you just pop up and wake up automatically. Well, we've got some great questions sort of popping in. Luis Quintana, who, of course, we all know and love very much, works at Canyon. But he's got a question for Felipe. How do you balance training for triathlon and a full-time job? That's a great question.
That is a really good question, and sometimes it involves early mornings, but I actually prefer training after work. And I sometimes will have to, be very strategic about what I'm going to actually train. swimming being my weakness, consistency is definitely key in that.
Yeah.
It's a little bit challenging to do, but I'm fortunate that I have the ocean and a 24-hour fitness when things are open, less than a mile each direction, so I could easily get in the water during a lunch break. But I really like to train on the bike and run at the end of the day. It's kind of like on tired legs,
Yeah.
in a tired mindset. I think that actually adds a little bit to the mental strength element of it, because you really don't want to do it. You'd much rather sit on the couch and crack open a beer. But, you know, it just, I think it does help, you know, to exercise on the tired legs. And if you could make it a quality workout, even on that tired mindset after 8-hour day and tired legs, it gives you a little mental workout as well.
Yeah, it's a great boost, certainly. I've got another question from Brian Allen. It's a very serious question for Scotty. Does the beard slow you down, or does it create like does it create like a layer for less stiction?
So my beard is part of beard season, Movember, which is
kind of early for
a
Movember.
month early.
Cancer awareness. So I always grow a beard this time of year, which turns into a mustache. I started early this year, and my message is go and get your skin checked, because I always go. I try and go once a year and get my skin checked, and I went 2 weeks ago, and I'll have a little spot cut out next month. So nothing to be scared about, but it's important when you're out in the sun, especially here in San Diego, Southern California, where the sun is strong. You're swimming outside. You know, you got to look after your skin. But the beard, no, it gives me strength.
Does not slow. It does not. I think it's probably creates like the boundary layer, and the air flows past it faster. That's what I'm saying. So a great question from Jacqueline. Hey, Jacqueline. If you could do any race right now that you wanted to, what would it be and why? Kona not included. And I think she probably asked that question because everybody knows about Kona. And some of our people tuning into this are, wanting to learn more about the other races. What race would you be doing right now outside of Kona that you're really missing right now or hyped up to do soon?
Well, I think if we're talking triathlon races, I think, Scotty and I spend, usually we spend the summer in Switzerland, and we do a lot of, races in France. So I'm definitely missing, every year we go to Alpe d'Huez and we do the Alpe d'Huez triathlon, and it's my love-hate race. It's really hard. And every year I'm like, I'm not doing this again, but I always miss it. Like as soon as I usually get to about May and I'm itching. I'm like, I can't wait to do that race. So I'm definitely missing that one, but I'm not very good. I haven't spent a lot of time doing much gravel riding and mountain biking, but I do want to get into a little bit more of that later on, and I do want to hit the Belgian waffle ride for sure.
Of course, another Canyon sponsored event. That's just a really fast-growing segment of the sport, and kind of share some adventure, elements and unknown challenges that are super cool. Another question is, what is the sparkly blue Speedmax behind, Felipe?
It's pretty.
That's actually Patrick Longa's bike from the 2018 Hawaii Ironman.
Oh, very cool.
So we've got Patrick Longa's bike, and then last year's winning bike, Jan Frodeno's Speedmax as well, which is, you can still kind of see it, even though it's a little bit backlit.
Yeah. But, he probably had to pry that from his arms, when he was
actually pry it out my arm because we ride the same size, but. No, it was, it was a nice gift to us by Roman to just kind of showcase in the birthplace of triathlon in San Diego. So
it's so
we're
cool.
very lucky to have it.
Yeah, and I think it's really neat just to have some of this dialogue and talk and sort of information sharing and stoke sharing. So speaking of stoke sharing, I'm looking just down into my shop area where I've got the Speedmax. I've just put it together a couple weeks ago. Literally my first hard ride on the TT bike was last week. Fortunately, I'm no stranger to bicycles, and getting low and fast on bikes is not completely out of the ordinary. So I wasn't too worried about it, but I do think there are some really interesting questions. You know, people who are getting a Speedmax for the first time. You know, what tips would you give for the quick start guide for the Speedmax? Obviously, pro bike fit and things like that are, you know, very important as you know, get deeper into it. But what would you say would be your advice, Felipe?
First off is build it and then just ride it. You can't immediately assume that a position is going to be either too aggressive or uncomfortable or anything like that. You have to build it and then just get on it. If you currently have a bike, replicate as best you can the fit on your current bike onto the new bike. Yep. And just understand that the blood, sweat, and tears that you put in the other bike won't necessarily transfer to a new bike right away. Like your sit bones and your elbows and your hands and all that, like there's a learning curve involved. So just gradually give it some time. And I think last week on the call, Tyler and Adam both had phenomenal advice. One thing that I personally do that Tyler mentioned was set the bike up on the trainer and then just start goofing off, you know, like adjust the risers and the stack height. And basically to the newbies out there, we're talking about the positions of the aero bars and where the elbow rests are. And you can start manipulating that. And here, you're going to be spinning around real quick, but I just want to show you guys. I have our Speedmax SLX and our CF to my left here. And I'm just going to illustrate the wide variety of pad and arm lengths that you can get.
I'm going to zoom you a little bit here. I'll try to
kind of have a little toolbox here. Let's see, is that decent here? Or nope, got to go the other way.
Yeah, let's see if I can get, yeah, wow.
Okay, so
wildly different.
This is the SLX model, which is pretty much what the pros ride. Carrie and Scotty are riding here. Yeah. And this is our CF model. And right away, you can see the difference in just the base bar. So this bike is more aggressive right off the bat. But you can also see that with the variety of arm pad heights and angles, and even where you position. You can be really narrow or you can go really wide. So on the left, I got it the narrowest you can possibly go and the highest you can go on both models. And on the right, I have it the lowest you can go and the widest you can go. So between the two, you can see that you can really customize and dial in your fit. And I know that professional fits right now in the current state we're in might be a challenge. But understand that you can do a lot of this in the comfort of your own home and just kind of play with it and have fun. And since there's nothing really in the books right now, it's a perfect time to experiment. And then when things do open up finally, and you do get an opportunity to really go for those marginal gains with a professional fitter, you have some feedback to go to that individual. And then he could actually, you know, start punching in the numbers in the computer and show you efficiency and watts and things like that. All the other stuff that us Tri guys just really geek the hell out of. Yeah. But it is a gradual progression. And it's, this day and age is kind of a fun progression, to be completely honest.
I'm surprised how
have fun
much,
with it.
Yeah, I was surprised how much variation you have in the cockpit. I think the misconception is it comes very, you know, maybe minorly adjustable, but I mean, especially, you know, in setting both sides up, thanks for doing that. It really shows how much difference. And I think it really depends on your background as well. You know, coming from mountain biking where we're pedaling very upright, I'm much more inclined to do sort of the mantis position, so to speak, with my forearms in front of me. Whereas, you know, you look at Patrick or Jan, they're very low and flat arm position. Scott and Carrie, where would you say your position is between those two extremes?
Well, I think one thing I actually just want to add to Felipe is when you're talking about, you know, making the adjustments and everything to the cockpit. Like if you're at home and you're kind of like tooling around with it, the thing I love about the Speedmax is making those small changes is really, really easy. And I think some people, sometimes they can be a little bit scared to kind of, be playing with screws and moving things around because, they might break or ruin something. It's really, really easy to make the small changes to the extensions or the arm pads, whatever you want to move. It's really, really simple. So I just want to say to everyone, like, don't be discouraged, if you're just at home by yourself and you can't get into a sea of fitter. Like, it's really easy to do it yourself. So go for it. But we ride a pretty aggressive position, and I think like obviously on the Speedmax, on the SLX, which we both ride, we're already in a pretty aggressive position with the lower front end. But we've both made some minor changes in terms of we like the extension poles a little higher, so we've gone like you praying mantis. Yeah, we're kind of like to have a little more of a kind of angled rise.
Well, you're not doing a 5K time trial prologue.
No, so but we go for 100% comfort. We've made those changes to fit us. I know we could probably go a little more aggressive. Neither of us have actually spent time in the wind tunnel. I've been asked that question a couple of times. Why haven't you gone and spent time in the tunnel? And my answer has always been the same. I think, I ride my bike pretty well. Yeah. I'm comfortable.
I would say.
So leave it. Yeah. Just leave it alone.
I think these are words of wisdom right here, boys and girls. So what Carrie is saying right here is you have to go with what you know. And, this DIY try thing is hitting very quickly. I mean, October 24th. Make sure to hit the link in bio to join and sign up, commit to sign up for the Canyon DIY Try for a chance to win a Speedmax 7.0. That's for the North American audience only at this point. But with that little time, I know I'm not going to reinvent the wheel. I'm not going to get this low stand position, out of the box. I had to, bring the armrest up a little bit. I had to make it a little bit wider. But I actually got to a point where I'm like, man, this is comfortable. I can just take a nap up here. And I think, there were two things that really jumped out to me as far as the setup was that the tops of my road bike handlebar, I set up without thinking about it, almost exactly the same as the elbow rests. Probably the pad thickness is the positive on the elbow pads. So it's almost like if I took the elbow pads off of the Speedmax and put them on top of the road bike, the Air Road, it really was very close to a good position. And I think my hamstring flexibility, the glute engagement is similar. And, maybe after a year I could train to a real triathlon position. But for now, I think it's going with what's comfortable, and then doing some tweaks or adding some tweaks after that. The other thing that I noticed, and I first set it up on the trainer like Felipe recommended, I think that's a great idea for a couple reasons. Safety being for sure one of them. Because, when your hands are out here on the bars, you probably don't want to be looking down or, distracted. But the other thing was it allowed me to really listen to and make some observations about my pedaling. And I noticed that one of the drills I like to do are single leg drills. But the single leg drill, once you get too low of a position, the muscles, the anterior muscles that are lifting your leg, they won't let you lift over the pedal. So very quickly I realized my position was too low, immediately. And then I went up a little, and then it was pretty darn close. So in lieu of having a professional fit, you can get very close to that start position, like Felipe said, by taking your base fit position and working with it. Would you say there are any other common questions for Speedmax owners, Felipe?
Sizing always seems to be probably the number one question that we get asked, and I immediately defer to our perfect positioning system online. It's pretty darn accurate to get you in the ballpark. And then from there, like I said before, there is a learning curve involved. You know, it's not going to happen overnight. It is a progression. Even me personally, like, I spend most of my time on my ultimate road bike, and then as I get closer to a specific race is when I'll start riding the Speedmax. And I find myself very often starting in the most comfortable position to start once I get back on the TT bike, and then start working my way down. Because the lower you go, yes, it is more aerodynamic in the traditional sense, but the key component to this, especially when you're getting to longer distance racing, is comfort. Because if you can't stay in the aero position, you just negated the whole purpose of having aero extensions and riding on a triathlon bike. So you have to find that sweet spot, and it's somewhat of a compromise potentially in power, but it's what's going to get you to the finish line of the bike portion, knowing that you got to put on some running shoes and run after that.
You have to have something left.
Yes, exactly.
I've learned that the hard way.
Comfort would be what the end goal would be as you play around with your fit. And that's what I would recommend for sure.
Yeah, I think that answers some of our questions. So have you guys worked with fitters in the past? This is a question from Luis. What drove you to work with a fitter versus playing with a fit by yourself, if that was applicable?
Well, we've worked with Ivan O'Gorman, who has a relationship with Canyon. And then actually my cycling coach, Matt Bottrell, out of the UK, who's a fantastic coach and fitter himself, he really influenced our front end and helped bringing the hands up to that sort of praying mantis position. And especially for Carrie, as soon as she went up like that and brought the shoulders in, I mean, we're talking 10-minute improvement over 180K that we've seen. So Matt's influence has been absolutely priceless.
Wow.
And Ivan's as well. Ivan was probably the first fitter, and on the Sunny Coast helped us too.
We see, we see the custom bike fit guys on the Sunshine Coast in Australia. But usually we only go and see a fitter when we're switching bikes, you know, like when we've gone from, you know, over the years, we've gone from riding Cervelo, you know, early on, and then we've ridden Orbea, we've ridden Canyon as well. So we've got, you know, bikes in there that are a different fit. So we might initially go to see Ivan, or sorry, it was Michael Baker on the Sunshine Coast for custom bike fit, who we saw. I know a lot of guys and girls see him. But it's usually just we go and see them to help us kind of transfer the position from one bike to the new bike. And then from there, we usually just tweak it ourselves. Or if we can go back and see them, we do. But we don't have them here with us in California. So quite often we actually can't get back to see them for the follow-up fit. So it's just like a one changeover, and then, you know, we just keep tweaking it ourselves to get it right. And it can take time, but once you get it, you just stick with it.
A lot of these guys are doing virtual fits too. So if you've got someone out there that needs a fit and they just don't know where to go, I know Ivan's doing a lot virtually. So is Matt. So feel free to contact them and they can hook you up. And it's usually a little bit cheaper too if they're doing it virtually.
Scotty, it's great. Carrie, fantastic input. I think it's like giving yourself a haircut giving yourself a haircut is kind of the best example I could give to someone who's trying to fit the bike themselves. You know, you have to have a mirror back here, your GoPro behind you. It just takes you 5 times as long. A good fitter could get you up there and just
get you in the ballpark of where you need to be.
Very quickly.
Yeah.
I think so. I think it's very, very worth noting. So I have another question too, as an outsider, and I think it's very interesting time in triathlon with the PTO. Obviously, we've had some race cancellations, but it looks like the PTO is sort of pushing ahead with their December event and Challenge Daytona. What do you guys think about the the new races and new opportunities for triathlon?
Yeah, well, the PTO has stepped up in a big way. I've personally been involved with the PTO since the beginning. I'm one of the founding board members.
Cool.
And also the treasurer. So I have the very cool job of
asking the right person.
I get to send the money to all the athletes. So the PTO distributed $2.5 million to the top 100 men and women in the world based on our rankings. Mm-hmm. Right at the sort of beginning of COVID, we gave the athletes an advance payment because we knew events, when we saw the writing on the walls that events were going to be canceled, we needed to do something. Mm-hmm. And that's credit to Charles Adamo, our chairman, mm-hmm. and our investor up in the Bay Area, Crankstar. So, Daytona is going to happen. It's 100% now. Carrie's going to be racing. It's going to be $1 million prize purse on the Daytona Speedway. So, hopefully that Speedmax will be like a rocket.
I'm sure it will.
And it's going to be televised worldwide. I believe it's going to be a pay-per-view event.
Wow.
So, if you're a fan of professional triathlon, all those guys and gals have had a extremely difficult year with pretty much all events canceled with but a few. So a lot of them need the money, and everyone who's in the event's going to get paid, which is great. We're excited about it.
I was going to joke about last place if there was any prize money, because I got that covered.
Yeah, everyone will get a paycheck no matter where you finish.
Wow, that's definitely different than mountain bike racing. If you're last place, they're already tearing down the course. You know, they're just tape up, and the finish line truss is already like in your way. That's awesome. Joe says it's an incredible sport, and it's amazing to race against yourself and continually improve. Thanks for the support and the positive energy that triathlon gave you. I think you're giving it back by doing coaching and being involved with PTO. Really exciting to see the developments as the sport grows and sort of transforms. I think this will really put some pressure. If it's anything like other sports that have competing series, then it's actually going to raise the level for triathlon promoters across the board. But it's also very interesting to watch. Race or no race, I'm definitely very excited to see, how it plays out. If it's anything like bike racing has been in the last month, it's going to be, a lot of, unexpected position changes, depending on motivation, how engaged people are, if they're in gear or if they're, looking for a nice general fitness level. Scott, Carrie, what would you say your kind of, training mode is right now? I mean, it's, are you guys in kind of relax and, use this time for what it's worth? Or are you gearing up or?
By the look at Carrie's shoulders, she's swimming a ton. She's looking ripped. Look at those things. That's why she's got the cutoff. She's showing off right now.
Yeah. No, we've been pretty active the whole COVID. I think for us, like I said, it's like our lifestyle, but it's been our out as well. Through the whole time, if we weren't able to be getting out and training through the there's difficult times. I mean, from the mental the mental release that it's given both of us and athletes that we train as well. We have been able to keep a lot of our athletes going during this time, and they all realize the benefits that it has for them, both physically and mentally. So we've been kind of in a bit of a maintenance mode for the last few months. But for me, racing Daytona, all of a sudden, I'm like, okay, I really need to start. I actually need to start getting out on the Speedmax because up until a few weeks ago, it had been parked firmly in the garage, and I'd been out riding my road bikes, which has been really fun. So it's been a little bit of a shock actually getting back onto the Speedmax. I'm taking it out later this morning, but I can tell you it's really such a different experience, riding that bike I ride it inside, and that's fine. But then when I take it out onto the road, it's completely different. You know, all of a sudden there's so much weight that you need to have on your shoulders and your arms, and it's a completely different experience. So it hurts. It actually is a little uncomfortable.
Yeah, it takes a little transition. Well, it's a great point. You have to train the way you want to race.
Yeah, you have to condition yourself to ride it. So I'm kind of at that point now. I'm just trying to get my feel back on the time trial bike and ramp everything up a little bit while still trying to be relaxed. You know, get out and surf and still have some fun. And
totally, I love it. I think. What about you, Scott?
Well, I think the year has been different, obviously. And we've come up with a system that's been really successful, and it's worked for us. Starting the year with the swim, like I was describing earlier, in the off season, and then slowly building, but then using races to peak sort of in the September through November timeframe. And at the beginning of COVID, you know, all of a sudden the rug was pulled from under us. Well, we can't go swimming, right? So we're like, we completely lost structure. So going to the pool 4 days a week, first thing in the morning, that gives us structure in our life, and we lost that. So we were actually riding a ton because we thought, well, this is only going to last, I don't know, 4, maybe 6 weeks, and then let's get really fit on the bike. And then as it dragged on, at this point in our careers, we sort of went, okay, let's just go into a maintenance. Let's start surfing. So we were basically just training for life, and that was our message to all of our athletes. Look, we're training. We're all retired right now, and it's important to keep moving. So if competition is why you do this sport, we're in it for the wrong reasons. We're in the sport for a lifestyle, and the competition. And this always stays with me since our time working with Siri Lindley. Siri would always say, the competition is a celebration of all the hard training.
Wow.
And so
that's awesome.
That's when the competitions start again, it's going to be the biggest celebration for so many people because they haven't had a chance to compete. But in terms of where we are now, I won't race this year. So I'm 100% Carrie's sparring partner.
Oh, right.
Except he's completely ditched me on the run. Like, I go out to run, I'm like, where is he? He's in the surf. Like, how can?
So we're sort of working in these micro cycles where we're trying to front load the swim because we've lost such a big base, while maintaining the bike and giving a little bit of intensity because we only have a short window. And then after Daytona, we'll hopefully go into more of a normal schedule and build towards 2021, and fingers crossed we're back to normal.
Yeah, that's great. That's I think it's important that not everybody has to be, hyper sharp. You know, it's a big race, and you want to come in good shape. But it's more like you said about the lifestyle. I'm really enjoying the change up of sports, and I think people for DIY try again. It's getting out of it what you want. And, for a lot of people, it's just getting that routine back, getting a feel for the TT bike again, getting that taste of the speed. Like, the speed is just addictive, and you start to turn faster times, you start to get leaner or a little quicker or a little better. It's really a nice cycle, and it's a healthy one. And so we really like to encourage people to sign up for the DIY Try. We're going to have a link in the video description. Also, if you're to use DIY or hashtag DIY Try on Instagram or on Facebook, once a week we're going to send out some swag boxes with Canyon shirts, beer cozies, hats. And then for the grand prize, we have a 7.0 Speedmax for North America. And then internationally, we also have some other pretty cool prizes from Amp Human, Split Nutrition, Training Peaks even threw in, and a very short notice. So it was really great to just see, some of these other brands just say, hey, we'll throw some stuff in and, try to help encourage people to stay fit. It's so good for your mental health as well. It's just great to get out and hammer one out. So I would love to continue this conversation, but we've already kind of reached the top of the hour. Any other words of encouragement for folks that are going to do the DIY try? Carrie?
No, I think just have fun with it. You know, don't place any expectation on yourself. Just, you know, just go out and have fun.
Yeah.
Laugh. You know,
All right.
just enjoy it. Smile. Like, just whatever you decide to do for the day. Like, just have fun. Take someone with you. Have fun with it.
Yeah. Felipe, any tips for a DIY try day?
You can't say it any better than she did. Honestly,
All right.
just enjoy it. Have fun. Like this.
Yeah.
This entire year has taught us all that we just need to slow down and just enjoy life.
Yeah.
And I think that's one thing that this little event that we're kind of hosting can help teach everybody. Just slow down, have fun.
Yep. There'll be some fast and there'll be some slow. Trust me, on mine it's going to be.
I mean, crack a beer in transition or something. You know.
You know what?
There you go.
You stole my idea. That's I love it.
That technically is the fourth discipline.
It is. You're right.
Swim, try, yeah. So.
Yes, excellent. All right, guys. Well, thanks so much for joining Canyon's 360 Lab, reporting from the birthplace of triathlon, and not the birthplace of triathlon here on the East Coast. Jeremiah Bishop. Thank you to Felipe Acevedo and Scott and Carrie for joining us today.
Thank you, JB.
Fantastic.
Thank you, guys.
All right, thanks.
Thanks, guys.
Good to see you, Felipe.
Good luck.
Seeing you too, buddy. I like the beard.